Covalent bonds by Marcus and Didi.
Covalent bond is a chemical bond that happens between two or more atoms sharing their electrons. Covalent bond can be more stable compared to ionic bond. By sharing of electrons, it allows each atom to maintain the equivalence of a full outer shell.
So how do we write the formula? We name covalent compounds by using prefixes to express how many of each atom we need to form the certain molecule. So in the example, we have water, which is H2O. In order to make the molecule, we need 2 hydrogens. So we would look at the chart below to find which prefix expresses 2, which is di. So now the name would become dihydrogen. Since we only need 1 oxygen to form the molecule, we look at which prefix expresses 1, which becomes mono. So that becomes monoxide. When we put the 2 together, it becomes dihydrogen monoxide. And in order to figure out how to write your formula, you just reverse the steps. So whatever the prefix value that shows how many atoms you need to form the molecule, that is the number that you put beside the atom symbol.
Covalent bond can form when the orbitals of electron of each atom overlap, and each of their electrons are attracted to each atom's nuclei.
Why do they share their electrons rather than just gain or give atoms? In covalent bonds, atoms share their electrons rather than giving or gaining electrons. Well, you might ask yourself why, and the answer isn't actually that hard. Since both of the atoms want to gain full outer orbitals, that means that neither of them wants to give away their electrons. So instead, they just share them, which means that almost all of the cases, both of the atoms will gain a full outer orbital.
For covalent bond, they are more stable as we mentioned earlier, but covalent bond usually happen for non-metals and non-metal bonding. For metal and non-metal bonding, a ionic bond is needed.
So an example of a covalent bond that we've had throughout the whole presentation is H2O. As you can see in the pictures below, in order to make a water molecule, you need 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen. That means that the 2 hydrogen atoms share their electrons with the oxygen atom, which only needs 2 electrons to complete its outer shell. When they share, now all of the atoms have a full outer orbital.
In the example of lithium fluoride, the metal atom lithium is transferring its outer orbital of electrons to the non-metal fluorine. When they finished bonding together, they are not a molecule but just a compound.
So what is the difference in between a polar and a non-polar covalent bonds? A non-polar covalent bond is when the 2 atoms share the pair of electrons equally. So however much time one of the atoms has with the electron, that is the exact same amount of time that the other atom has with the electrons. However, polar covalent bonds is when one of the atoms uses the electrons shared more than the other one. So for the example in the presentation, we have H2O. But since the oxygen atom uses the shared electrons more, the water molecule has a partial negative charge. Thank you.
Thank you.